to another video. I'm just waiting for the girls to get released from school so I can take them home, get changed for gymnastics class, and we're headed there. So while I had some time before they get to the car, I just wanted to talk a little bit. It's been on my spirit, on my heart, to make a video about taking chances and stepping out on faith. So how I'm gonna start this. Okay, so for those of you who don't know or who are new here, my family and I moved from South Carolina to Texas in 2021. Yeah, in 2021. We closed on our house in March of 2021. We moved in June of 2021. Last year, 2022, made a year, and we are almost 2 years in living in Texas, because we closed on a house in March, but we didn't move in until June because my husband was overseas. So a lot of people always ask us what made us move to Texas, and how do we know where we wanted to move, because we don't have any family here in Texas. We don't know anybody here in Texas. It's just us. Of course, we know people, we know some people now, but we didn't know anybody before coming here. And a lot of people assume that the reason we moved here was because of my husband's job, but that's not true. That's not accurate. The reason we moved here was because I felt like God was calling us to move, was telling us to move to Texas, was telling us that this is where we were supposed to be, and that was years in advance. We would always try to move. When we first, and early on in our relationship, we talked about moving to Atlanta once we graduated from college, but that just didn't stick. We didn't talk much more about Atlanta, and it really wasn't an interest for either one of us. So we did want to move to Charlotte, though. After we graduated, we both applied to jobs there. We went multiple times looking for jobs there, but nothing would ever work out. Y'all, I'm watching all these cars and trying to watch for the girls for when they come, because it can get hectic when all these kids get released. These are the walkers, and some of those kids be playing in the road and throwing. Yesterday was a couple of kids throwing footballs by the road with all these cars. They got the pickup line back there, and then the parent pickup for the walkers. So many kids just, back and forth. So that my anxiety just, like, I try to watch out for all the kids, and especially keeping an eye and make sure are not none of the kids playing. But I know they know better than that anyway. But anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Okay, so Charlotte, we tried multiple times to move to Charlotte. We took multiple trips to Charlotte, to job fairs. I tried to transfer my job that I had. Travis actually at one point got a job, and he went to stay with his cousin for a while we continued to look. I think it was probably like a month, probably wasn't even quite a month to start his job until I potentially was able to come there, and until we found a place, but nothing would ever work out. So finally I was like, okay, well, maybe this just isn't for us. It's not for us to be in Charlotte. No matter how much we try, nothing is working out, so that might not be meant for us. So I got to a place where, you get to that frustration, and you just don't know what to do. You want to be somewhere in life, and you don't want to be where you are or in the situation you're in. So I started praying, and I remember as clear as the moment of frustration, all of that. And I just knew that I had to, just spend some one-on-one time with God and just pray and just seek clarity, seek his voice, and, figure out what it was that we were supposed to be doing. I took a walk down that road and just prayed, then walked in silence, and just back and forth, just back and forth from the road to back to my mom's lane, and just, just seeking clarity. And as clear as day, I, got the confirmation that Texas was where we were supposed to move. And I had never been to Texas before, ever. I had never been to Texas before. I didn't know what was in Texas for us, but I heard it as clear as day. And so ever since that day, I've been saying, oh, we're gonna move to Texas. We're supposed to move to Texas. I believe we're supposed to move to Texas, but I knew we were supposed to move. I had this conversation with some of my friends, some of my family members, and they can vouch for it. I had this conversation multiple times about Texas, but I had never been to Texas, no parts of Texas. So I wasn't interested in Texas. One, because I didn't think about going that far away from home or anything. But I guess it was where we were supposed to be. I stood on that. And even when I mentioned it to my husband, he wasn't on board right away. He kept saying, no, Charlotte, we keep trying Charlotte. So we kept trying Charlotte, but I kept saying, well, we can keep trying Charlotte, but I know Texas is where we're supposed to be. And like month after month, the confirmations kept getting stronger and stronger. I would run into people from Texas, have conversations with random people. They would be from Texas. Different things would pop up about Texas. On the road, I'm living in South Carolina. I'm seeing more Texas tags than South Carolina tags on the road. Just all types of confirmations and all types of, signs that Texas was where we were supposed to move. So fast forward to some years, my husband went overseas. He was overseas for on and off about almost 5 years. The last time he was overseas, we would talk about the plans for when he returned home. He was still saying Charlotte. We would move to Charlotte, and even moving overseas was an option. Not to where he was, but to somewhere safer and somewhere that we all could go and not have to worry about being in a danger zone. So that was even an option. So, but I was like, I really feel like God is saying Texas is where we're supposed to be. So we came up with a plan, and we was like, we'll try Texas. If everything works out for us to move, to buy a house, then we'll try Texas. And if it doesn't work out, we'll move overseas the next summer when the girls got out of school. He still wasn't quite on board. He kept saying Charlotte or Texas. And then one day he called me and he was like, yeah, I think Texas is where we're supposed to be. He was like, he felt like he got the confirmation, and then the same things that were happening to me, the signs, same types of signs, similar types of signs, he would get the same signs. And he was like, yeah, I feel like we're supposed to be in Texas. So I was like, I told you, like, I knew this all along. Like, I knew this since years ago. And I'll try to go back and get the exact years. Okay, these kids coming out now, so I'll try to get the exact year that I got that first confirmation. That we ended up talking to a realtor. We ended up closing on our house in 2021. We started talking to the realtor in 2020 during the pandemic. And that's how we ended up in Texas. My kids right there coming in. Hello. How was school?
Good. I fell asleep.
Again? That means you need to go to sleep early. So that's how we ended up. That's how we ended up
Okay, guys.
knowing that we were supposed to be in Texas. And I'm kind of distracted now, so I'm gonna come back with the rest of the story once I get from around all these cars and these kids and everything else. So I'll be back. So I'm at the house now, and I had to back up a little bit because I was too far up in the shade and it was making the light really dark. So I had to back up a little bit to be in the sun. But the sun is a little bit too bright, but I'd rather it be bright like this than dark like it was. But anyway, I was saying that's how the thought even came in our head, to know that Texas is where we wanted to come, or we needed to come. Like I said beforehand, I didn't know anything about Texas. I had never been to Texas before, any of that. But I knew Texas was where we were supposed to be. And I know what I heard clearly, and I know the confirmations that I kept getting. So I stood on that for years. And I know some of the people in my family, some of my friends and stuff, they heard it so much, the years continue to pass, so they probably were like, okay, she keep talking about this, ain't nothing going on. And so I stopped talking about it, because I don't like to be one to talk about anything and then, you know, time is continuously going by and nothing's happening. Like I like to show proof. I don't like to just keep talking about stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything else about it. But of course, if somebody asks, you know, where we were planning on moving, or if we still were gonna move and stuff, I would still say, yeah, the plan was to move, and the plan is still to move to Texas. And so all it took was for Travis to get that confirmation, and that was something that I was praying on as well, because like I said, I knew well in advance where we were supposed to go. I waited patiently, because I know that just saying something like that to somebody, like, I wouldn't expect somebody just to up and move just because I say, oh, I know that I feel like that's where we're supposed to be. I want them to get that same confirmation before we take a huge step like that, before we move miles and miles away from everything and everyone we know and love. So I prayed on that, and I was like, you know, God, you've shown me the confirmation multiple times, and I know this is where we're supposed to be. Just give him that same confirmation and make it very clear to him the same way you made it clear to me that that's where we're supposed to be. And so when he finally did call and say that he felt like he got a confirmation, I didn't even mention any of that to him. Anytime we would talk about it, I would just say, okay, but you know, I know Texas is where we're supposed to be. Just pray on it, and when you get the confirmation, if you get the confirmation, you know, we'll know. And so he did call one day and was like, he got that confirmation, and then we started talking about it more and more. What was I saying? So yeah, when he did get that confirmation, you know, we talked about it, you know, more and more, and more, he would continue to get the confirmation. I would continue to get the confirmation. We finally decided, okay, Texas is where we're going to start looking. So I would say that same year, after he received that confirmation, I would say it was around June, July, August that he got the confirmation. That same year is when, because we were already working on, you know, like everything we needed to do to be able to purchase a house. So we made a plan, like I said, if everything was to work out, we were going to move to Texas. If everything didn't work out, then we would know, you know, that wasn't it, and then we would talk about moving, or, you know, consider moving overseas. So that same year, around October, is when he reached out to a realtor, and at the time that wasn't a part of the plan for us to start the process. Then we were just gonna see where we were at and see, you know, if we were on track or whatever else we needed to be able to purchase a home, or start the process to getting everything straight, other than, you know, the basics or whatever. See if there was anything else that we needed. And so when he actually spoke to a realtor, he gave him my number, because we were on a different time, so it was very unlikely for him to be able to talk to a realtor. So he communicated the best way he could, but I was in the States, so he gave him my information. And then when he called, you know, I told him, I was like, well, we wanted to wait until next summer before we even start looking, you know, before we start the process and everything, just to make sure that we are secure in our decision and secure in everything that we had to bring to the table to be able to purchase a house. You know, like, make sure our credit was on point, our savings was on point, where we felt comfortable enough to invest in, you know, a house, you know. So when I talked to him, I was talking to him with the intentions that, you know, we were just seeing where we're at. But when I told him everything, gave him all the information to pre-qualify, and he was like, oh yeah, y'all good, you know. Like, he was like, I got this lender that could, you know, get y'all started right, get y'all pre-approved now and get y'all in the home. And I was still thinking, you know, like, like I said, first of all, I was still thinking we wasn't even ready yet. We was gonna wait longer, but then and I still didn't like. I was still like a little bit nervous, and I was like, I don't know, like I don't know. He goes, I assure you, y'all are good, and he was laughing like, girl, ain't that for you to worry about. And so I was like, okay, and we talked about it, and then we started, we got pre-approved. He sent the lender's information, got me in contact with the lender. We did the whole process, got pre-approved, was ready to start house shopping. So that's when we started the process, buy our house. We're here now, and one of the number one questions that I always get is, how do I really feel about moving to Texas and being so far away from family and friends and so far away from home? How do I really feel, and how's everything going, and how do I really like Texas? And so I want to answer those questions, because I know there's so many other people that have the desire, or sometimes feel the urge to move off and move away, but they have this fear of moving away and failing, or moving away and things not working out somehow, or becoming homesick, or making a mistake basically, and not liking where they move. And I can honestly say I didn't have those fears, because I knew that I knew what God said, and I stand on what God said. If I heard it from God, I know that whatever we go through, it should be in the pantry. Or, huh? And lotion your leg because you're real ashy. Yeah, so these kids keep distracting me from what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So I wanted to answer those questions. So when I always stand on what God says. Nobody can tell me no different than what God says. Before I get into how I feel, though, I think I want to talk about. No, I'm gonna get into how I feel first. Okay, so I can say that I didn't feel that way about moving away, because I knew what God had said.
Oh, where did my clothes go? They're not in the washing machine.
What clothes?
My clothes.
What clothes?
The clothes I washed.
Oh, it's a basket in my room. I think your daddy put them in that, right in front of my basket of clothes.
Oh, okay.
Beside the door, look in there. Some of True clothes on top of it, I think, but I think those are your clothes in that basket. So I stand on what God said, and if God said it, nobody else can tell me no different. Nobody else can change my mind, because I rather do things God way than to let man tell me that I don't know what I know, and I know I heard God clearly. Let me see if I can switch this camera to a different lighting. Okay, that's a little bit better. And when I know what I heard, so I didn't have that fear. I didn't have the fear of failing, because I was like, I know if God takes us there, it's a reason He's taking us there. He's not going to bring us all the way to Texas, miles and miles away from family, and then leave us and we fail at everything. There's always a plan. God always has a plan, and He's not going to let us down. So I'm not fearful of moving away, or making a mistake or anything like that, because I know He always has a plan. So that wasn't a fear. When we first got here, we all adjusted well. I had one concern, and my one concern was my kids. Being that they were so young and they hadn't been away from, family members and friends or anything like that. My concern was them and how they would adjust to being away and being somewhere completely different where they didn't have anybody else. And I wasn't concerned about myself at all. I wasn't concerned about Travis. I wasn't concerned about anything else. I wasn't concerned about, jobs, careers, or anything. Like I said, people assume that when we came, it was to transfer Travis's job. And he could have come in here starting completely new careers, completely new jobs. Of course, we had already been applying and researching and doing all of that make sure that we had enough funds and everything, that we felt comfortable enough to come here and feel secure without having to worry about, what might happen or what might not happen. So that wasn't a concern. My only concern was my kids, how they would adjust. And we all adjusted so well. I expected them to feel a little homesick or feel like they missed, some family members and everything. And they did not at all. Like they felt the same way we felt. They love it here. They love their school. They love the house, of course. They love the neighborhood. They love everything about Texas. And they, if you ask them now if they want to even come back to South Carolina, they rather family to come here than we go to South Carolina. That's how much they love it here. And I love it here. Travis loves it here. We all love it here. The first year we came, we were still, in the pandemic. We were still, kind of fresh in the pandemic. It was like 2021. So we were still masking up and everything, still cautious about going to, certain events and stuff like that. But we got out as much as we could, to do as much as we could and still feel safe. So we did get to explore the city. We got to meet, some neighbors and get to know some people and everything. I found a job within the first 3 months of being here, and I was working from home, and I still could be, in the house with my kids at the time, and still go pick them up from school when school did start. I could still, go back and forth and not be out and about in a pandemic and not feeling safe and everything. So everything was working out, everything worked out just the way I expected to work out. Like I said, I didn't have any worries or anything like that when it came to us moving here. And so that was the first year. The first year we got to explore the city a little bit as much as we could, considering a pandemic. We both found jobs without any issue. And I was also, while working, finishing up my real estate courses, because I was so secure in what God had said to me about we were supposed to move to Texas. I had applied for real estate school in 2019, I think, before we even decided to move to Texas, before we even started talking to a realtor or anything, because that's how secure I was. That's how much I knew that, because I always wanted to take real estate courses as well, but the only thing that was holding me back from taking real estate courses, because I knew we wasn't going to be in South Carolina, and I knew that's not where we were supposed to be. So I knew that if I got licensed in South Carolina, I wasn't going to use it much, because we weren't going to stay there. We were going to eventually move, and then I would have to get relicensed in a new state anyway. So I was like, I might as well wait to wherever we go. But then after being so secure and knowing where we were supposed to go, I signed up for those. I was like, I'm not gonna let that hold me from my goal. I'm not gonna let, or feeling unsure, to keep me from what I know I'm working towards. At least if I know I'm already working on this goal, this is already going to happen regardless. Like, I don't care how long it takes, I'm going to make this happen. And so I was like, I'm going to sign up for a real estate course online to be licensed in Texas. Like I said, this is before we even started talking to a realtor. It was before we started started actually making moves to move to Texas. We had just thrown the idea around, talked about the idea, and like I said, I had already gotten all those confirmations, so I wasn't going to wait. I started then, and so it did take me a while to finish, because I wasn't as disciplined in taking my, and doing my work and doing my course. When we did get under contract, I moved out of our house that we were staying in. Travis was still moved in with my mama for that rest of that time until he came home in June, so we could come to Texas. So I did all the moving and everything with my mama helped me. My mom and my sister helped, but Travis wasn't there. He was overseas, so he couldn't help. So I moved to her house, and we stayed there from January, or was it February? Yeah, it was January, it was January or February when we moved. February, I believe. We moved to my mom's house, and then we stayed there. Me and the girls. When I say we, I mean me and the girls at the time. And we stayed there until it was time for Travis, because there wasn't no need for me to continue to pay rent when we was already about to be paying a mortgage, you know. So we would have been paying mortgage and rent at the same time, all that. And then the landlord started acting funny at the last, like right around the same weeks where I was moving out, and I didn't worry because I knew that anytime that you got a big blessing coming and all this stuff, you're gonna expect some spiritual warfare. You're gonna expect some things to be happening and people to be acting funny and all of that stuff. And that's what happened. Like all types of stuff just, you know, started happening. I just laughed it off because I knew what was coming. What's Trini?
Still in the house.
Oh.
Yeah, she's making her a sandwich.
Okay. Because I knew what was coming, so I wasn't worried about any of that. So we was moving, and then so you know that kind of set me back from, you know, finishing my real estate course then. And then I was taking care of 2 girls by myself at the time. As much as I would try, you know, to get stuff done with my real estate course, I wasn't able to get as much done during that time with moving from there, and then moving from the house to my mama's house, and then having to move from my mama's house to Texas in June. And so once we did get here, I did get back, you know, I did start back working on it and everything. But within the first 6 months of living here is when I found out I was pregnant with my rainbow baby. And so what time is it, y'all? It's 3:39. We still got a little time. And I found out I was pregnant with my rainbow baby. And so, you know, blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings were happening for us, and everything. And I truly believe that once you're obedient to God, He opens up so many more doors, because first of all, you're showing that you have enough faith to believe what He said, even if it took years for it to happen. It still happened, and you stood on that, and you didn't let nothing deter you from that, and you worked your behind off, and you took leaps of faith and everything just to make sure that you were putting yourself in a position to receive the blessings God has for you. I didn't know what to expect moving to Texas. I had never been to Texas still until the first time I came to Texas was to close on our house. I didn't see our house in person before then. We only saw it through pictures that the home builder sent weekly. And then when it was finished, we saw pictures and videos, and then the virtual walkthrough. That was the only time I saw the house. And the house, if you go back to one of my previous videos, I was talking about how the house was everything that we had desired it to be. We had talked about, we wrote down in a list and everything. It was everything. So all of that alone lets me know that what we did and following God's voice was not a mistake. None of it was a mistake. And so to anybody who questions how I feel about being here now, I feel at home. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be at. I know this is where I'm supposed to be at. Like, I went back to South Carolina in July to visit family, and so, you know, my family could be youngest baby, and just to spend some time with family and everything. And it didn't even feel the same. Like, that does not feel like home to me anymore. Like, it's still gonna be home because that's where I was born and raised, and that's where everything I know, everyone I know and love is. But Texas is where we were supposed to be. Texas is home. This is where I'm supposed to be at. This is where God wants and needed me to be. And I can't begin to even explain how many more blessings I feel like He's, you know, has prepared for us for being here. Like I said, I didn't know what was to come. You know, all I knew is that this is where we're supposed to be. I knew what I desired. God has made so much of what I desired happen and come to pass already. And so I'm just grateful, I'm thankful, I'm blessed, and I'm ready to see what else He has in store for us here, because I feel like I said, I feel like it's so much more. There's so much more to come. If you are considering moving, if you feel like you're being led to move, you feel like it's the voice of God that's telling you, and you feel secure in that, move on that thing. Just to take that leap of faith, and just trust God and believe that wherever he leads you, he will guide you through the entire process. Like our home buying experience was so smooth. Like I was worried. Like I'm a natural worrier, and I have severe anxiety, so I naturally worry about every little thing, and I don't have no reason to worry, honestly. Like there was no reason to worry at all. Like everything worked out perfectly. Like from week to week, I was always expecting for a call that something was, that we might have a hard time, because you hear so many stories about people, you know, buying homes and how hard the process was and how tough it was and how stressful it was, and that was not our story. I believe that the reason that wasn't our story is because we listened to God and we followed his voice. And this is when God has a plan for you, and it's his plan and it's his way, he's going to make it as smooth as possible. And that's how it was for us. And so, like I said, if you're somebody who is in that situation, thinking about moving, have thought about moving, or just thinking about taking a leap of faith like that, just take it. For anybody who's wondering how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, I'm feeling amazing. I feel great being here in Texas. Nobody's life is perfect or anything like that. I won't even try to portray life is perfect or anything like that. But I am blessed. We are blessed, and I'm thankful for everything that we have. And I just know that there's so much more to come. If there's anything I need to add, I will add it. But I need to get these girls to gymnastics practice. So yeah. So I didn't want to cut it off so abruptly without making sure that I said everything I need to say. But I did want to say that with moving away, you know, moving at any point, especially when you're moving miles and miles away, it doesn't come without any issues at all, or without any, you know, thoughts. I wouldn't say issues, but I would say thoughts. And sometimes you might miss home a little bit from time to time, but overall I can honestly say I don't miss South Carolina at all. Now I miss, you know, being surrounded by family and stuff from time, you know, I do miss that. Well, I would say some family, because even when I was staying in South Carolina, I didn't see everybody all the time. So, you know, like if you don't see them all the time anyway, it's hard to miss, you know, really miss a lot of people, or you know, you can't really miss what you didn't have in the first place, so, or you didn't know in the first place. So I was to myself a lot, especially especially during the times when Travis was overseas. It was just me and the girls, and it was pretty much us all the time. So, you know, like we didn't, and especially in those last couple of years being there, because we were in a pandemic and there wasn't much we could do, or many people we could go around anyway like that, you know. I know a lot of people probably did take chances and do stuff like that, but I wasn't taking those chances with my health or my kids' health. So I would say that, you know, missing certain people, and, you know, for some people moving away, you might actually miss home sometimes, you know, miss where you came from and all of that. But you can always visit, and most times you will find that when you go back home, people are doing the same thing that they've been doing, and nothing's really changed, you know. So you are not obligated to stay where you were born and raised. You're not obligated to stay there. There's so much more, you know, life, and there's so much more places to experience and see and learn and grow and all of this. I wanted that for myself. I wanted that for my kids. I wanted that for all of us. And we've been experiencing so much, learning so much about ourselves, about each other, about, you know, our likes, our dislikes, different people, the area, you know, different types of things. Just so much. It's just so much to learn. But like I said, it doesn't come, because when I was pregnant, was probably the most difficult time for me, not having family around. And I just wish that that I had more support around that time. I felt quite lonely around that time, but it's still that was loneliness from not having family surrounded in a time where I am going through a life-changing event, and something that you would share and celebrate with your family. So I did feel, a little bit lonely, and it could also be, the pregnancy hormones and everything could have contributed to how I felt as well. But that was about the only time that I really, felt lonely like that. Because I'm used to being by myself. I'm used to just being, me and my kids and my husband, and even without him, because like I said, he was overseas, for a while on and off. So, so some things may, make you feel, make you miss home, make you feel, by yourself, but you got to find your people. And I won't say I know a lot of people here, but moving away from home, you have to get out. Like, you can't just sit in the house. And I am a homebody, and I love to be at home and to comfort my own home. I like spending time in my house. I like spending time with my kids, so I don't mind. But in order to get adult interactions and be around other adults, and in order to build a support system and meet new people, make new friends, and learn your neighborhood and everything, especially when you move away, you got to get out. And so that's what I have been doing. Now that we can get out more, putting the girls in activities, I'm trying to do more events and get out more, not only for my own social life, but for business as well. Being a new real estate agent, I'm gonna have to, know people, get to know people, get out and, experience new things. But there's like moving away, finding a job hasn't been a problem. Finances hasn't been a problem. Missing home hasn't been a problem. Feeling like I made a mistake, that has definitely not been a problem. Any of the concerns that most people have about moving away, it hasn't been a problem for me. The biggest issue for me was not having a support system when I felt like I needed it the most here. But like I said, it doesn't come without any issues at all sometimes. And that was more of something that I needed to fix or change, or something that I could potentially control, because like I said, you have to get out sometimes and meet people. But I don't feel lonely or anything now, and I haven't before that point. Like I said, it could have been due to the pregnancy hormones that I felt like that. But that was my biggest issue with moving away. And I'll let the girls speak for themselves. How y'all feel about moving to Texas?
Amazing.
Who's that amazing?
Me.
Lena, how you feel about moving to Texas?
The best.
The best. See, I told you. And that came from their mouth. They love it here. I love it here. Travis loves it. We all love it here. And True was born here, so she's a Texas girl. Like I said, so many blessings when you follow what you know God is, where you know God is leading you. And it's like I'm just waiting for Him, ready for Him with open arms to continue to bless us. I'm continuing to follow His voice as He leads. So, yes, ma'am.
I just realized True was the only one born in Texas.
If I could change anything about moving to Texas, I would bring my mama and my sister. I would move them here with me. That would be the only thing I would change. I couldn't see myself moving back to South Carolina, honestly. Like visiting, no problem. Because we do, well, I won't say no problem, because they have a hard time getting me back there now, because I really don't have the desire to go, but I do want to see family. Like, I do want to spend time with family. I know I need that time, to spend with family, see family and everything. But I don't really get the desire, the urge, or anything like that to go. And Trinity in particular, anytime I mention going to South Carolina, she says South Carolina is dusty. But
ugly.
she said it's ugly, but that's because I think that's just because they've been experiencing more here, seeing more here, and there's so much to do. Like, you never really get bored. There's so many different things to try. It's just no reason really not to like it, you know. And like I said, my number one thing when we moved here was being worried about how they would adjust, and seeing them adjust so well, I really didn't have no reason to worry. So yeah, so that's that. I'm pulling up to the girls' gymnastics class now. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, if you're thinking about moving and you want more insight about, you know, how to feel. Let me see what time it is. Oh, no, y'all good. Y'all ain't late. Y'all right on time. How to, you know, any questions y'all want to know about, or anything that y'all might be concerned about that I can answer for y'all, then just leave it down in the comments, or message me or something, and I'll be willing to answer any questions y'all have. But my experience hasn't been a bad experience at all. I love it here. I feel like I'm at home. I'm where I'm supposed to be, and until God says otherwise, this is where I'll be.
No.